So here we have marks gained by a group of students. Again, these look like IB marks, but nobody got the really high 6s or 7s in this group. If the median is 3 and the mode is 2, we have to use that information to find two possible values for P. Well, if the mode is 2, what does that tell us about possibilities for P? The fact that the mode is 2, P has to be less than or equal to 9. Because if P was equal to 10 or more, then the mode would be 3. Does that make sense? So now, as far as possible values for P, we've now got, I guess, 10 possible values for P, from 0 to 9. P can't be negative. There can't be negative 2 students that got a mark of 3. The median is 3. So we need this to be the middle value. Now currently, there are 15 students that got a 1 and a 2. And there are 8 students that got a score of 4 or 5. For example, if P is 0, can you see that our median would no longer be 3? Because if you had a value of 0 for P, then you would only have 23 items in total. And if you only have these 23 items in total, then the median number would be the 12th one. And if the median number was the 12th one, that's going to be a 2. So we need to somehow figure out how many does P have to be so that the median falls in this value of 3. We already know that 0 would not be enough. So what happens? So you're saying 7 works or 7 doesn't work? 7 works. So if we had 7, okay, the total number that we're going to have is going to be the 15 and the 8 is 23 plus whatever we figure out P to be, right? And so if P is 7, how many people would there be? 30. And if we had 30 people, what would the median be? The median would be between the 15th and the 16th one. And if the median was between the 15th one, the 15th one is a 2, and the 16th one is a 3. Can you see how I'm getting those numbers from the chart? Like, the first 5 are 1s, the next 10 are 2s, and then if we said P is 7, the next 7 would be 3s. If this was the case, if you had 30, then the median would be right here in between the 2 and the 3, and the median would be 2.5. So if we use 7, 7's not quite big enough, because then your median would be 2.5. If we used 8, then all of a sudden we're going to have, so I'm going to put just an x through P equals 7. If we used 8, 23 plus 8 would be 31, then the median is the 16th one exactly. And then the 16th one is the first one that has to be 3. So what we did to solve this so far is we just used logic. We didn't use a lot of algebra. We did some guessing and checking, and we figured that out. Now I'm going to show you after going through that logic, because I'm pretty certain if you got a question like this on an exam, that's what you would do. You would think through it and use logic and come up with figuring things out. I'm going to show you a little bit how we could maybe use some algebra to figure this out. First of all, the median number, that's not a very nice n. The median number, you can always figure out where the position of the median number is by figuring out how many things you have and dividing it by 2. Add 1 to here. So the number of items you have, add 1 to it, and divide by 2. So for example, if I had 5 items, it's really easy to see that the median is the third one. 5 plus 1 divided by 2 tells you it is the third one. If you had 6 numbers, the median is going to be the average between the third and the fourth one. If you do 6 plus 1 divided by 2, you get 3.5, which is telling you that you need to go between the third and the fourth one. So if we use that idea, we know that 23 plus p, that's how many we have, plus 1 more divided by 2 has to be bigger than or equal to 16. Why 16? Because the first 3 is the 16th one. Okay? Now, there would be a limit to that, because if you got way too much larger than 16, then your median might turn into 4 or to 5. But we've already got that p has to be less than or equal to 9. So solving for this, multiply both sides by 2. 24 plus p is greater than or equal to 16. 32, that's like, subtract 24 on both sides, and you get that p has to be bigger than or equal to 8. So we've got one inequality that says p has to be bigger than or equal to 8, another inequality that says p has to be less than or equal to 9. So what are the two possibilities for p? 8 and 9. The next two examples I'd like you to try on your own, and I'll put up the answers in a bit. So we have 3 values, a, b, and c. If we know that the median is 11, b is the median. Because if you have 3 values in order, b is in the middle. And so that must be the median. So then you know that b is equal to 11. And since the range is 10, to go from this one to this one would be plus 10. So c, you could say, is equal to a plus 10. With that information, you could say, well, I know that the average of all 3 of them added up, divided by 3, is equal to 9. And if I write c as a plus 10, then I've created an equation that I only have one thing I need to solve for. Solving for that, you get a is equal to 3. So that means our 3 numbers are 3, 11, and 13. But I think the question just said, find the value of a. So again, the median is the 38th one. Here's how you figure out that median number. Add 1 to 75 and divide by 2. The 38th one, if you count, 5 plus 9 is 14, plus 16 is 30, plus 18 is 48. The 38th one happens within the column with the 4. So our median would be 4. If we wanted to figure out the average by hand, we have 1 5, 2 9s, 3 16s, and so on, and you get your average to be 3.8 by doing all those calculations, adding them up, and dividing by 75. The reason I got you, once you were done, to use your calculator to check is I wanted to point out that almost all of you went to the idea to do it by hand like this to begin with, which is good because you need to know the idea, as there is some questions on the exam that test, do you know the idea? But on a question like this, now that you've done it by calculator and you've done it by hand, putting that data into list 1 and list 2 and using one var stats to figure out the median and the average, how much faster was that than all of these calculations? A lot faster. And there's going to be times on your exam where if you know the faster route, that'll give you more time on those harder questions that are there to make you think. So we want to, if it's a basic question, we want to know both ways to do it. We also want to know which way is fastest so we can use that when we need to use the time.